Welcome back, everybody. Derrick Soo, your East Oakland advocate. Well, behind me, 10 years ago, this was my first shelter. You see those dots on the wall there? That was the silicone that I used to attach the roof to the wall to make me waterproof. So you saw the opening picture. That was my bed. There was hedges right here on the ground. You can see where it was dug up, and that's where I slept behind. But the wall, they had the heat on in the building, and so I could lean my back against the wall and stay warm during the winter. I first came out here March 1st, 2014. So I'm going to talk about my journey from here, March 1st, 2014 to today. Before we get started, I want to assure everybody that uh, there was a plan in place, an emergency plan that didn't take place, unfortunately, because my parents failed to plan ahead. They trusted that my sister and I would be civil enough that we would abide by their wishes, and their wishes were, since the family home was paid for, that it would not be sold at any point. And um, we also had Prop 13 protection. So, in terms of property tax, you know, it wasn't even a car payment. My dad's car payment was more than his tax liability for the home. And so that would have started generational wealth right there if my father had not been so hard headed, and his claim was that he was never going to die. And I bring this up because as a former manager for a homeless encampment here, a sanctuary homeless encampment in the city of Oakland, um, I came across many people that fell into this exact same situation where a parent, grandparent, had them in their home for because they were struggling. And so when that person died, the owner died, they died intestate, meaning that there was no will and no trust in place. Intestate, that means it automatically goes to the probate court to settle. And if a relative tries to settle that, that is illegal and cannot be done. The court has to be petitioned um, for the for all the legal documents to be uh, turned over to the courts, and the court, probate court, makes a determination. Also, somebody needs to step up to be an executor, and I had done that for two of my relatives. One, my mother, because my father refused to become the executor to take care of her affairs when she passed away, and so my dad asked me to step in as the executor to represent him and the family. And so that's what I did. And then also, my uncle Bob, my mother's older brother, he passed away the same year, but later in the year. He passed away right after, shortly after 9/11, unfortunately. So I ended up with two executorships that I was in charge of, and my sister didn't want to have anything to do with it, which was fine. And I had to hire an attorney to uh, represent uh, the estates, and I was the voice for the estate. But I had to have a probate attorney, which I did. And so we went through everything. My sister was a horrible all through this. There were some difficulties, but we got through everything. And I got possession of my grandparents' home because my sister and my cousins did not want the grandparents' home. So I bought their share out, and purchasing that share out cost me a little over $500,000. And so I took out a loan, and that was the only mortgage on the home, $500,000. And that was easily affordable for me because at the time my wife and I, our combined incomes were in the up, well, in the 1% range. We'll put it. It wasn't seven figures, you know, but it was close. And so we were pretty much debt free at that point, and that's why how we afforded the boats, because we could easily go into any boat dealership, purchase what we wanted, get it set up to wherever we wanted, and do what we want. Uh, she worked as a high-powered intellectual properties attorney for the big biopharmas here in the Bay Area. And then when she stepped down from that position, she went to work in Hayward for a smaller biopharma, which produces genetics, or not genetics, generic drugs for the market. And so she stayed there for a few years until she retired. Then she left and went up north to Fort Bragg, and that's where she exists today. I, on the other hand, that the family home, getting back to the family home, my sister and I, we were never very good friends. In fact, she blames me for a lot of things that were wrong in her life, and she accepts no blame for anything on her part. Uh, my dad, you unfortunately used me as an example that my sister should attain to, or I should say aspire to, because at the time I was up and coming in the work world, and then I went to EB Mud for a short amount of time. I didn't like it there. It was a very racist place at the time, and the only reason why I managed to get on EB Mud was because of affirmative action laws at the time, and it required people of color to be considered when it came time. And so, as you know, EB Mud, they do civil service, and I ranked third. I finished up ranked third in the written test, but they actually did hire me third. I found out how horribly racist that place was, and in terms of color, there was one black person, two Asian people, one Hispanic, and the rest were all Caucasian out of a 60-man crew. Yeah. So anyway, the home, my family home, my parents' request to both of us was to never sell the home. The taxes were low enough where it was easily affordable. We would have to do some work on the home, obviously, because of its age. It was built originally in 1952. My parents didn't do a lot of maintenance other than putting a few roofs on the top, but then that didn't stop the movement because they lived on the hillside. But the home was there, and it was sufficient. And the reason why my parents wanted that was so that in the event they foresaw the future of what was happening. And so in the event that I lost housing, which I did, or my nieces or any family member of my mother and father's line, meaning mostly anybody who came down to my sister's house, would be insured a home into the future that they could stay, and it cost them very little. In fact, so little that you couldn't even match it today. Because if you think that property taxes were only about $500 a year annually, and then electric, it was an older home, but it was still modern electrical. You could get away with about $200-300 a month tops, and then water was pretty low. It's about $100 a month, and you don't need a telephone because I had cellular service, but you know, a cable for the internet, because back then there wasn't the Wi-Fi's that are available today. I mean, we're talking back in 2010, 2011, and 2012. And 2012, um, I was forced out of the home. The court seized the home because my father had passed away. My sister went against all my parents' wishes and uh, put the home up for sale. And she said, "I'm keeping the money, and there's nothing you can do." Um, Pretty much she was right, because I really didn't have money for a lawyer to represent myself and my interests. She was um, put in charge of my dad's estate. She became his conservator, so that ensured that none of my dad's wishes could be put in place, because she was going to make sure it didn't get put in place. And she lied to my dad constantly, and he knew he was being lied to. In fact, it came down to where my sister and I were both in the room together with my dad, and my father, in frustration of my sister, said, "You were a big mistake. I wish I never had you." It was pretty hard, and I said, "Oh no, that means now I know that she's going to sell the house," and she did, and there was nothing I can do. Uh, and she didn't get that much. The thing was, the home was in poor shape, and it needed a lot of work. And so essentially, what she got was the land value. Nothing for the house. She got the land value of $135,000, and that's it. And the ability, whoever purchased that property had the ability to completely transform that home and the property. As long as one wall stands on that home, they don't have to pull a new permit. They can build off of the existing home, and which is what they did, saving them a tremendous amount of money after they did the piling, sinking of the pilings into the hillside. I mean, it was a lot of work, but they sold it for nearly $600,000 a year later, or yeah, a year later, because the market was screaming red hot at the time, and homes were going. And the person who bought it didn't stay in it but a year, and then they sold it for just short of $1 million, $135,000 property, a home that I should have stayed in if my sister had listened to the wishes of my parents. And so that's why I tell all of you um, out there who own a home or have your name on the title of a home, put in place a living trust. Get to a family law, family legal lawyer, and set this in stone. Don't trust those kids to do the right thing, because they won't. I've seen it time and time again. Even my best friend up in Sacramento, same thing happened to his family. A greedy sister. His middle sister, because my friend up in Sacramento is the older of the sibling, then his younger sister actually stole the home from all three siblings. And she did it legally because she had dad in the home. And then when he died, she made sure that the home belonged to her, free and clear. So a lot of crooked things happen with your kids, and you can't trust them. That's why you need to put it set in stone. Get to a family uh, planning, estate planning lawyer. Family estate planning lawyer is what's going to save your generational wealth well into the future, And like I said, I came across a lot of folks that got into that same situation. Their parent died, and a sister or a brother or whoever they had as a legal signature, a legal guardian for them. They took the home, stole the home, threw everybody out. I heard that time and time again uh, from especially seniors that were about my age range or younger, just slightly younger, lost their housing because of that. And because of their situation, they couldn't finish out what they needed. Thanks for joining me today. This is part one.